free. I want to ride free.
Freedom from Behind Bars with me, Karen Allen. Hope you're doing well today. I am going to be sharing with you for the next couple of sessions just some thoughts that are on my mind regarding this subject of being free from behind bars. And these series of, inspirational or transformational messages are really basically aimed at individuals who have been behind bars, who have literally been incarcerated, but not only just individuals who have been incarcerated, but those of us who have been incarcerated in our minds, or those of us who are free physically, but have yet to be free mentally. So, freedom from behind bars. I believe that everyone loves a good story. Everyone enjoys a good film. That's why we go to the cinema. That's why we read a good novel or even watch a TV series, because everyone loves a good storyline. And as long as it has, good characters, a good plot, a good theme, a good twist in the middle, sometimes if it makes us cry and laugh at the same time, we just love it. We love a good story. And there are many places that we can find stories. And in my experience, one of the best places to find a good story is in a very old book, that was written many thousands of years ago, but that still has a phenomenal impact around the world, and that's because the Bible. And whether or not you believe what the Bible says about whatever it says is neither here nor there. The fact is, there are some really great stories in the Bible, and there's one particular story that I want to be focusing on throughout these sessions, and it's based in the book of Genesis, and it's the story of Joseph. The story of Joseph. Now, Joseph was a young boy who had 11 brothers. There was 12 boys in total, and he was number 11. And Joseph happened to be his dad's favorite child, and his dad, whose name was Jacob, made Joseph a coat of many colors. And this coat of many colors really represented the fact that his dad loved him, and it represented the fact that his dad thought there was something extra special about him. Now, Joseph's story it has its twists and turns and ups and downs. It's a phenomenal story. And throughout these sessions, I will be dipping in and out of his story, but there are a few things about Joseph's story that makes it significant. Number one, that he was given a coat of many colors. Number two, that he had a dream. He had a couple of dreams as a young boy, around about 17 years of age. He had a couple of dreams, and he told his family the dreams, and the dreams basically meant that when he was older, his family would end up bowing down to him. Anyway, because he was his dad's favorite, his brothers completely hated on him. And, if you live in any kind of world, you know what it's like to have haters. So his brothers hated him, and eventually one day they tricked him, lured him away from the house. They threw him into a ditch, sold him off into slavery. He ended up in slavery, away from his family, in a country with people he didn't know, with a language he didn't speak. He ended up working for a slave master, and he did a great job working there. So he was elevated in the slave master's house, but then he got double crossed by the slave master's wife, and she tried to get him to sleep with her because she herself was a hater. Long story short, he ends up in prison because of the lies that his slave master's wife told about him. So Joseph ends up in prison, and in the prison, he's still favored because he ends up even getting the keys to the prison to manage the prison while he's in prison. And then in the prison, he has a gift of dreams, because we see that in the beginning of his story that he had a gift of dreams, and in the prison he still has that gift, because God never takes away gifts that he gives to us. So there was a butler and a baker, and again, I'll be dipping in and out of the story, but they had couple dreams, and he interpreted the dreams, and one of them ended up getting killed, and one of them ended up being restored to their position. And the position was that they worked alongside the king or the prime minister, the president of the day, the pharaoh. They worked alongside him. So then when the pharaoh ended up having a dream, he remembered, oh my God, there's this guy in jail. He is a dream interpreter. So Joseph gets taken from the prison, brought before the pharaoh, ends up interpreting the pharaoh's dream, and this pharaoh makes him second in command. So Joseph went from his dad's house to being thrown in the pit by his brothers, to being sold into a slave master whose name was Potiphar, so being sold into Potiphar's house, being accused of rape by Potiphar's wife, being thrown into prison, spent years in prison, ends up interpreting a dream, and then from the prison he ends up being prime minister. Now, how is this possible? This is a phenomenal story. Phenomenal story. You can just imagine the twists and the turns in the story. Anyway, 3 things just on this introductory session about being free from behind bars. Joseph was set apart. This is very clear from his story that from the very beginning he was set apart. And to be set apart means having the quality or the character that sets someone apart from someone else, showing him or her to be different from others, usually better than others, even if they're of the same type. So someone who would be set apart would be, you know, a group of people coming for a job interview, for example, but there's something about that one person. There was something about that one person that makes them different. That's set apart. And that was Joseph. There was something about Joseph that made him special. And his dad could see it. He wasn't sure what it was when he was young, but he just knew there was something, and his dad made him a coat of many colours. And the coat of many colours represented his gifts and his talents and the favour of God that was on him. He was set apart. The second thing about Joseph's story is that he was set upon. And to be set upon means to be attacked or abused or assaulted or rejected, neglected. He was set upon by his brothers. Why? Because he was set apart. His brothers hated the fact that he was his dad's favourite. Now, am I agreeing with his dad? Do I think parents should have favourites? You know, I've got 5 children of my own. Do I have favourites? Anyway, moving on swiftly. No, I don't have favourites, really. I don't think parents should have favourites. I think that every child is different, unique in their own way, should be loved and treated that way. So, but his dad favoured him, and as a result of that, his brothers set upon him. They attacked him. They abused him. They assaulted him, and they threw him in a pit. They told his dad that he got killed by a wild animal. Threw him in a pit. He was set upon. But the phenomenal thing about Joseph's story in the end was that it was clear that he had been set aside. And to be set aside means that something has been saved and used for a particular purpose. So although he was set apart in the beginning, we saw this with his coloured coat, and although he was set upon by his brothers who hated him, hated the fact that he was favoured, hated the fact that he was so gifted, hated the fact that he was so blessed, they set upon him, didn't want him to succeed. All of his story concluded in the fact that Joseph was set aside because God had a plan for Joseph's life. And God put a mark on Joseph from he was a young boy and said, you, I am setting aside for my purpose. I am saving you, even though you're going to be in a pit, even though you're going to be in a prison, even though you're going to be accused by Potiphar's wife. I am saving you so that I can use you for a particular purpose. And the end was that Joseph went through all of what he went through to learn all of what he had to learn to get to the place where God had him. He went from the pit to the prison so that he could get to the palace in front of the Pharaoh. So although he was imprisoned at one point in his life, he had to go through some stuff, and he had to learn how to be free from behind the bars that could have had him imprisoned for the rest of his life. And what I'm going to be doing over the next few sessions is sharing with you some of the bars that keep us imprisoned even though we're free. Some of the bars, some of the mental bars, some of the unseen bars that keep us bound, that keep us in the pit, that keep us in the prison, that keep us in slavery in Potiphar's house. I'm going to be sharing some of those things with you. So I look forward to speaking with you soon and sharing with you some things that can set you free from behind bars.
I've got to break free.